Each week we've been looking at Psalm 23 together. And once again, let me read it through as we come to our next verse today. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Well, today we're looking at verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Some people have a tendency to expect more than the Bible promises. So they give the impression that as long as they're full of faith, then no real harm can ever come to them in this life. And the problems that other people face will just bounce off them. But that's not what the Bible teaches. Other people overreact by under-expecting and give the impression that life's going to be really, really miserable and will have none of the blessings of salvation until Jesus returns. This verse challenges both those tendencies. David's quite honest about the challenges of life as a believer. He says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And he makes no attempt to hide the fact that he does have them, enemies. And we as Christians will also face enemies, the old foes of the world, the flesh and the devil, all the challenges of life that everybody else faces. And that, of course, includes the coronavirus. Just because we have faith doesn't mean that we're immunized from it and its effects. Yes, life can be tough. Let's not pretend otherwise. Yet, at the same time, let's not miss the amazing blessings that are offered to us now. We don't have to wait for all the wonders of the Christian life. There's a real, living relationship with Jesus offered now, pictured in this vivid imagery. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. The restaurants and pubs are likely to be closed for a long time. And we're isolated from many of our family and friends. We're not going to meet and eat with them for a while. And yet Jesus says, I want to eat with you. Perhaps you feel alone. Perhaps there's no one to eat with. And you really are alone in your house. And Jesus says, you're not alone. Sit at table with me. Maybe you feel unnoticed in the midst of all that's going on at the moment. No one seems to notice you. No one seems to care. You're neglected. Or perhaps in the midst of all you've been doing to look after other people, you've neglected yourself. But Jesus doesn't neglect you. He knows you and he sees you. He wants to treat you. That's the picture here. Not a quick snack. You prepare a table before me. It's a lavishly laid table. You anoint my head with oil. That's something a host would only do at very special gatherings. Or maybe we feel empty. We've given out so much and so much has been taken out of us over these days of stress. But Jesus says, I want to fill you. The meal he offers is full of rich fare. My cup overflows. It's a lovely picture of what is offered through relationship with Jesus. His living presence with us every step of the way, and the reassurance of his promises. We're not alone. The famous verse, Revelation 3:20, here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. is often used to speak to those who don't know Jesus and to ask them, encourage them, invite them to ask Jesus into their lives. I stand at the door and knock, says Jesus. Will you let me in? And if you do, I'll eat with you. And if you've never yet come to put your trust in Jesus, I would encourage you to let him into your life. Say to him, please come in. And if you want to know how to start the Christian life, I'd love to help you. Just get in touch with me via email on pvparker@live.com. But actually, in the original context, that verse is addressed to Christians, those who've lost their first love and their hearts have gone cold. Maybe they've been distracted by other things. And Jesus says, I'm knocking. I want you to enjoy that intimacy that you once enjoyed with me again. Let me in. Let's eat together again. In this time of enforced isolation, when so many of the things we're used to doing we can't do anymore, it's a real opportunity to make the most of what Jesus offers, to delight in him again, and to feed on the relationship with him that is our richest blessing. The psalm says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows.